Hi, I'm Ken Holly, and I would like to tell you a little bit about my book, An Ordinary Guy. This book is a story about my life. I wrote the book like we were gathered around a campfire and sharing stories about our lives. Why did I write the book? Well, the reason really started back in the early 80s when our daughters were born. Both our daughters were full of energy, and some nights just couldn't calm down before going to bed. I would sometimes tuck them in the bed, pull up a chair, and talk about their day and tell them age-appropriate stories about my life. Some of the stories were intended to teach them lessons. Right before retiring in 2011, I told my wife that I should make some notes of these stories so that the girls would have something about my past for posterity. About that time, I was talking to Kim, an acquaintance. She told me that I should write a book. What? Me write a book? I said, I'm an electronics guy. I can't even spell. She told me that you can do it. I thought for a little while, maybe I can do it. A little later, I was talking to my best friend about the book. He asked if I'm sure that I want to put all that energy into writing a book. He said, you're not some famous person or some explorer that traveled around the world. You're just an ordinary guy. I was a little down, but then I thought, aren't most of us ordinary people with stories to tell? I remember how I used to talk with the neighbors of my mother and my in-laws when they were in independent living or assisted living homes. I was always amazed at some of the adventures that these people experienced during their life, who are now confined to a wheelchair in the twilight of their life. Have you ever thought about making some notes or writing a book about your life for your kids and grandkids? They may really cherish that. What's your earliest recollection of your life? Mine was a couple of months before my third birthday when my brother was born. Back in the 40s, little kids were not allowed in the hospital to see their new baby brother or sister. We had to wait until they were brought home. I remember my dad and I picking up Mom and my baby brother outside the hospital. My eyes were squinting from the glare of the summer sun on the concrete as the nurse pushed Mom and my new baby brother down the long sidewalk to our car. The nurse got Mom and my brother situated in the back seat. I was so excited. I stood up in the front passenger seat of the car trying to get a view of him. I started to jump up and down to see over the tall seat just as Dad was pulling away from the curb. I'm sure he was telling me to sit down, but all of a sudden it was too late. My foot came down on the door handle around the door and I fell out into the street right on my head. I remember my mom screaming and my dad hollering. I jumped up and ran like a jackrabbit as it was too far from home to be stranded here. I don't remember exactly what happened after that, but I sat very quietly like a little angel all the way home. Read my book and find out what my brother and I did with our time and what we learned that helped us later on in life. How did I handle the initial disappointment in the Navy? What are some of the lessons that I learned from my experience? What did I do along the way to better myself? If you'd like a copy of An Ordinary Guy, it's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Inspiring Voices, and numerous local bookstores. If you would like a signed copy by me, please visit my Etsy.com, ETSY.com shop called An Ordinary Guy. Thank you for listening to my story.